Hello, and thank you for joining me for today's anime discussion. The theme for this week is magic, and in keeping with that theme, I'm going to talk about 5 of my favorite anime with magic as a theme. For this list, I steered away from anime that I've talked about before and focused on anime that has what the characters consider magic in the world in which they live. So there's no common theme for some of these other than the theme of magic within that fantasy world that the anime is set in. So this list is in no particular order except for, again, maybe number 1. So the first anime that I'm going to talk about is World Break, Aria of Curse for Holy Swordsman. Now, this anime follows a character named Moroha Haimura, who he lives in a world where it's kind of a modern day world, where there are these people that have memories from their past lives. Now, the people are generally split into 2 categories. Either in their past life they had magical powers or physical powers. So, either they were like a sword master or a sorcerer or something like that. Now, and they're broken up into these 2 groupings. And as you might guess from knowing that people are broken up into 2 groupings, he has memories from 2 different past lives. And one life was as a holy swordsman, and the other life was as a dark sorcerer. So he is a unique being in that aspect that allows him to use skills from both sides and, makes him pretty OP, as is, something that is a familiar sight in anime, the main character being overpowered. But that's where the source of his overpoweredness comes from. So he, other people around him that knew him in past lives have also been reincarnated, and the story follows him learning not only to harness these abilities that he has, but basically trying to keep a low profile and finish school, because that's people go to school to learn to use their special abilities from their past lives. That's number 5. Number 4 is going to be The 8th Son, Are You Kidding Me? Now, this is an anime that's currently ongoing, being simulcasted on Crunchyroll, and this one is pretty funny. So it takes the normal trope of an isekai anime, of a character that has been reborn into another world, and it tries to do something a little bit differently with it. It follows a character named Wendelin Baumeister, who, I guess, wakes up as a small boy in this kind of lower tier noble family in their alternate world. And he at first thinks like, oh yeah, I'm part of a noble family, I'm gonna have like a very cushy life and eat good food, because when he wakes up he's at a party. But it turns out that was a wedding for one of his 7 siblings who are being married off, and the family put like everything into it, and normally they eat like a very thin soup and hard bread and drink something that is supposed to be tea but is 99% water. So he has no chance of inheriting, just like in the real world, like there's a lineage or like an inheritance cycle where usually the firstborn or the eldest son is the one that inherits the title, and then the other children don't inherit a title, and they don't have any rights to any of the land or money that go along with that title or land. So it turns out though that he has an aptitude for magic, which is something that few people have in their lives, and that allows him to become an adventurer and a hero. And so far the story has followed his exploits as an adventurer, sort of. That's the thing, it doesn't focus on all of the quests and things that he does. It focuses more on his interactions with the people in his world, with his family, with other nobility, and with the other characters in the world. And that's kind of what I like about it, is that it takes time out to focus on what it's like behind the scenes for an overpowered person in another world, and the other things that they have to deal with. And his personality is of someone that doesn't really want to deal with all these things. He has no interest in being, a noble or having to lord over land, but You know, as is a common theme in these anime, he may not have a choice. That's number 4. Number 3 kind of needs no introduction for people that are familiar with anime, but number 3 is going to be Fairy Tail. And Fairy Tail follows Natsu Drag Neil as he searches for his father, who is a dragon, but he's a human, sort of. He is a mage that uses dragon slaying magic, and there are other dragon slayers in the world. This is kind of like an epic, far-reaching story. For those of you that are not familiar with it, this the author that wrote Fairy Tail also did a couple other stories, like Rave Master, which was an anime when I was younger, and he uses kind of some of the same character designs and tropes for some of the characters as they cross over. But we follow Natsu as he is in his exploits in his mage guild Fairy Tail, which has a very long and storied history of its own, as you come to find out during the course of the story. And his main focus is trying to find out what happened to his parents, because all the dragons disappeared on a certain day in the past, to him when he was younger a few years ago. But more of that mystery is unraveled, his origins, where he came from, why his father and all the other dragons disappeared from the world, and the role that Fairy Tail and the members of it have played in the past. So it's a very epic, far-reaching story. Give it a try. That's number 3. Number 2 is going to be a regular at Magic High School. Now, this anime is one of my favorite because it has the character that breaks conventions. He's overpowered, but other people don't think that he's overpowered, and he has no really desire to prove them otherwise. Sometimes you have the hero that are maybe not even the hero, the character that wants to show off their power. But Tatsuya Shiba, who's the main character, along with his sister, he has no desire to show off his abilities. He uses them when they're necessary, and as much as is necessary, and no more than that or no less than that. And so he lives in a world, regular Magic High School. He lives in a world where, magic is role, where people go to school to learn magic. Now, at his school, which is the premier school of magic in Japan and, in his country, the students are separated into 2 classes. They're separated into the blooms and the weeds. They're separated basically into kind of the upper strata kids that have natural inborn talent towards magic as measured by the testing standards of the world, and then the kids that don't measure up are in the other class. And he's in the other class. But as it turns out, really he's stronger than the other students. And so one of the methods that they use for testing is to see how long it takes you to absorb or use magic. And basically he is so OP that he's able to bypass that step in casting magic altogether, so it doesn't happen at all. And since it doesn't happen at all, they're like, oh, he is he's nothing, he's a dropout, he's not a good student, but he really is. So, this follows the story of his adventures as an irregular in the Magic High School. He himself kind of is more of an emotionless character because, as you find out, he comes from a very powerful magic clan, an old and powerful magic clan, what might be the strongest clan in Japan, that practices magic. And they've done some experiments on him to make him into kind of a weapon, and and that has stolen some of his emotions, almost all of his emotions, except for ones that deal with taking care of his sister. And that is number 2. So here it comes, number 1. Number 1 for me is Kyo Kara Mao. Now, this is an older anime. This anime, I don't know what year this came out in. It's like, you know, from the 90s, I want to say. Now, this deals with the student, what is his name? This name escapes me for a second. Yuri Shibuya. Kind of similar to the character in number 2's name. But he's a everyday student in Japan, and one day he falls into some water, gets transported to a magical world, and becomes the Mao, or the Demon Lord. And what the story is, from today on, you're the Demon Lord. And he's like, what? But one of my favorite things in particular about this story is there's a trope always, and nowadays it's kind of moved away from that, but in anime there's always a trope of the overpowered main character being surrounded by their harem of beautiful girls or women. In this one, he's surrounded by a harem of beautiful men. But he doesn't believe that he's Demon Lord material when he first goes over there, and in that world, demons and humans, anyone with black hair, which is kind of typical for an anime of Japanese or in the real world, like, you know, black hair, dark eyes, you know, that is not the color of hair that everybody else has. So, you know, they're like, oh my gosh, he's a monster, he's a demon, for the regular humans. And then the other demons, of course, some of them accept him, some of them don't. You know, he's been raised in a modern day world, so he, you know, doesn't understand some of the nuances of a type of medieval world, which is the kind of world that he finds himself in. And the story follows his interactions with, you know, the members of his court and other members of the world as he kind of goes into why he is why he is chosen as a demon lord, why he was on Earth, why he belongs in this world, and there's, you know, history behind all of it. It's a really great show. I don't want to spoil too much of it for any of these titles. I want you guys to go watch it yourselves and tell me what you think. So those are my top 5 favorite anime that have magic as a theme in them. Please let me know what your top 5 are in the comments, and stay tuned, because next we have this week's craft. This transforming box. If you lift here, here, and here, and fold these out, it transforms into a flower. So we're going to start with a piece of paper. This is 4 inches by 4 inches, pink. Now for it, you'll use 3 pieces of pink paper and 3 pieces of green paper. And so I'm going to fold this in the fourths here, and then from the top right, fold down and crease, and flip it over and fold down from the top right again and crease, like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paper, I'm going to kind of fold it over here along the crease like this, making a new fold. You see that crease there? I'm going to fold it just like this, lining it up with one of the 1/4 folds that I did. Alright, and it'll look like this. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold in this other flap, and again I'm going to keep that crease from the 1/4 and fold it over like this. Okay, straighten it out a little bit, then I can flip it over, fold in the excess paper, and then fold in these flaps to make it into like a diamond shape. Alright. Then I'm going to take one of my 3 pieces of green paper, and I'm going to start it like the pink paper. I'm going to quarter it. Well, make 4 parallel sections like this. And again, I'm going to fold from the top right, make a crease, and then flip it over again, and again fold from the top right. And again, just like at the beginning, I'm going to fold over like, make sure you get it right. I'm going to fold over, retaining that crease. Retaining that same crease, making the same fold that I did initially for the pink paper. But here's where it's going to change up a little bit. I'm going to fold in the bottom corner here, fold that over, and then I'm going to fold in the crease like I did with the pink paper, but folding in that tip, instead of making the top and the bottom the same shape, is going to shape it like this. I'm going to flip it over, do the same thing, folding in the excess paper. Then I'm going to fold over this corner and fold it again into a diamond shape, like I did with the pink paper. I'm going to take these two, and then I'm going to make all of my paper like that. So I'm going to start by putting together the green. You see that the long tip is at the bottom, and I'm going to insert right there. Again, long tip at the top on this one. All right, and then I'm going to take my last long tip and I'm going to insert it, and so I've made a kind of a three-sided cube here with the pyramid triangle shape sticking out at the top. I'm then going to take my 3 pink pieces of paper, and for these I'm going to, since both sides are equal, I'm going to insert it just kind of like I did the green one. But on the top this time instead of the bottom. Again, I'm going to nest them inside each other so that only these 3 points are left out. Then I'm going to take these 2 sides and put them together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this long edge here, and I'm going to leave out these green tips. Be sure to leave these outside during the initial construction. Put in that part, leave out the green tip, and then put in that part. Ta-da! We're almost done. So if you fold these leaves out like this, just like we saw at the beginning, we get our leaves. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pinch these, the top and the bottom together like that. Pinch, and like the bottom right and the top left of each of these 3 pink faces together, and there's our flower. Again, you can use any color paper for your flower. I would recommend green, at least for these leaves, and using any color for the petals. And when we're closing it back up, we put the green tips in so that it is a complete closed cube. Please visit us online at hcpl.net, as well as download the Overdrive or Libby app in order to check out our electronic materials, including ebooks and e-audiobooks. Also, please follow us on social media in order to keep updated on new content from the North Channel Branch Library and Harris County Public Library Systems. Thank you for watching.